Hello and welcome to What the F*** Just Happened Today, your essential guide to the daily shock and awe in national politics. I'm Joe Amditis. Let's get to it. It's Wednesday, October 11th, 2023. Welcome to day 995. Republicans nominated Steve Scalise to be the next Speaker of the House, but then they recessed without voting. Although a majority of the 221 Republicans nominated Scalise for Speaker, too many of them still plan to vote for Kevin McCarthy, which makes it unlikely that Scalise will win the 217 votes that he needs on the House floor to win the speakership. If the House does elect Scalise, the chamber will then be able to restart its legislative work, which was stalled after McCarthy's removal, including providing aid to Israel and funding measures to keep the government open after November 17th. Moving on, federal prosecutors charged George Santos with 10 additional counts in a superseding indictment, accusing him of stealing the identities of his donors and then fraudulently charging their credit cards, spending thousands of dollars. The new charges also include allegations that Santos embezzled money and conspired to falsify donation totals in order to hit fundraising targets set by national Republicans. Santos now faces 23 charges in the case, including the 13 originally filed against him earlier this year for wire fraud, money laundering, theft of public funds, and lying to Congress. Santos vowed not to resign or to pursue a plea bargain. A group of House Republicans from New York, meanwhile, plan to introduce a resolution to expel Santos from Congress. Meanwhile, the Biden administration plans to ask Congress to approve a funding package for Israel, Ukraine, Taiwan, and U.S. border security. Lawmakers in both parties have pledged to send funding to Israel, but additional help for Ukraine will likely come down to a far-right group of conservatives in the House, despite bipartisan support in both chambers. 2 weeks ago, House Republicans opposed $300 million in aid to Ukraine, and since then, numerous House Republicans have said that they're skeptical of the idea of linking the aid to Israel and Ukraine in a single package. In North Carolina, Republicans overrode the Democratic governor's veto of 2 election bills, and they enacted vote count restrictions and weakened the governor's ability to oversee the elections. One law eliminates Governor Roy Cooper's power to appoint the State Board of Elections. Now, Republican legislators who hold supermajorities in the state's House and Senate will appoint boards with equal numbers of Democrats and Republicans. The legislation, however, does not spell out how the boards will resolve most deadlocks. The other law ends a 3-day grace period to receive and count absentee ballots as long as they are postmarked by Election Day. And finally, the world is less likely than ever to meet the Paris Agreement goal of limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. This according to the DNV's annual Energy Transition Outlook. The report found that between 2017 and 2022, renewables met 51% of new energy demand, but fossil fuel usage continued growing in absolute terms. In order to limit warming to 1.5 degrees by 2050, CO2 emissions would need to be cut in half by the year 2030. The most likely forecast in the report sees temperature rise of 2.2 degrees Celsius by the year 2100. ExxonMobil, meanwhile, is buying its oil and gas rival for $59.5 billion, betting that the transition away from fossil fuels will play out at a much slower pace. That's all for now. You can find the links and sources for all of these stories on the main website. And as always, visit whatthefjusthappenedtoday.com for the latest news and headlines. Until next time, I'm Joe Amditis.